Imagine this. You're a young man in 1902. You're healthy, strong, in your 20s. You see an advertisement in the Washington Post. The government is looking for volunteers for a scientific experiment. The pay? Free meals, 3 times a day, in the basement of the Department of Agriculture building. The catch? The food will be poisoned. Not might be poisoned, will be poisoned. With borax, with formaldehyde, with salicylic acid, with chemicals you've never heard of. The goal? To prove these chemicals are dangerous, to change American food forever. Would you volunteer? 12 men did. They became known as the Poison Squad, young men who ate poison for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for 5 years, to prove what everyone denied, that American food was killing people. This is their story, a story of courage, of science, of corporate greed, and of the moment when ordinary men changed what America eats. Welcome to Echoes of History. To understand this story, we need to go back to 1900, the turn of the century. America is changing rapidly. For thousands of years, people ate local food, food grown nearby, food they could see being made, food they trusted. But now, everything is different. The railroads connect the country. Food travels hundreds of miles, thousands of miles, from farm to city, from coast to coast. Canned food becomes common, bottled milk, packaged meat, preserved vegetables, and nobody knows what's in it. Let me tell you what Americans were eating in 1900. Milk. Fresh milk, delivered daily to your door. Except it isn't fresh. It's been sitting in unsanitary conditions for days, flies landing on it, bacteria growing in it. So what do the milk companies do? They add formaldehyde, the same chemical used to preserve dead bodies. It keeps the milk from spoiling, makes it last longer, and the companies insist it's perfectly safe. Meat, beef, pork, chicken. But meat spoils quickly, especially in summer, especially before refrigeration is common. So the meat packers add borax, a chemical used in cleaning products, in laundry detergent. It preserves the meat, hides the smell of rot, makes old meat look fresh, and they say it's harmless. Vegetables. Canned peas, canned beans, canned corn. But canned vegetables turn brown. They look unappetizing. Nobody wants to buy brown vegetables. So the canners add copper sulfate. It turns the vegetables bright green, beautiful, fresh-looking. Copper sulfate is toxic, but the canners don't care. It sells more cans. Butter. Except it's not butter. It's margarine, colored yellow with coal tar dyes. Some of these dyes are poisonous. But they make cheap margarine look like expensive butter. Coffee. Except much of it isn't coffee. It's ground up twigs, sawdust, chicory root, anything brown that can be ground into powder. Honey. Except it's mostly corn syrup with a tiny bit of honey flavoring. Whiskey. Aged for years according to the label, actually made yesterday with grain alcohol, caramel coloring, and various chemicals to simulate aging. Patent medicines, miracle cures, sold in every drugstore, advertised in every newspaper. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup for teething babies contains morphine. Babies die from it regularly. Coca-Cola contains actual cocaine until 1903. Hamlin's Wizard Oil, a cure for everything, contains alcohol and chloroform. Rodham's microbe killer. Claims to cure tuberculosis, cancer, everything. It's diluted sulfuric acid. People die drinking it. And all of this is legal. Completely legal. There are no food safety laws, no ingredient labels, no regulations, no oversight. Companies can put anything in food, call it anything, make any claims they want. And they do. But there's a man who wants to change this. His name is Harvey Washington Wiley.
Harvey Wiley is born in 1844 on a farm in Indiana. He's brilliant, driven, stubborn as a mule. He studies chemistry at Hanover College, then Harvard, then Indiana Medical College. In 1883, at age 39, he becomes chief chemist of the Department of Agriculture, the top food scientist in the federal government. And what he sees horrifies him. Wiley begins testing American food, systematically, scientifically. He buys food from stores, from markets, from vendors. He brings it back to his laboratory, and he analyzes it. What he finds is shocking. Nearly every processed food contains dangerous chemicals, adulterants, preservatives, poisons. He tests maple syrup. Most of it isn't maple syrup. It's corn syrup with burnt sugar for color and hickory bark extract for flavor. He tests jelly. It's apple scraps, glucose, artificial color, and grass seed to look like fruit seeds. He tests ground pepper. It's ground coconut shells, ground olive pits, floor sweepings. He tests baking powder. Many brands contain alum, which is toxic. He publishes his findings in scientific journals, in government reports. The response? The food industry attacks him viciously. They call him a fanatic, a zealot, a troublemaker. They say his tests are wrong. His science is flawed. He's exaggerating. They hired their own scientists who produce their own studies showing everything is safe, perfectly harmless. They lobby Congress. They buy newspaper editorials. They fund advertising campaigns. The message? Wiley is wrong. Food is fine. Government regulation would destroy American business. And for years, they win. Bills are introduced in Congress to regulate food. Bills requiring honest labels. Bills banning dangerous chemicals. Every single one is defeated. The food lobby is too powerful, too wealthy, too connected. Wiley is frustrated, angry, desperate. He's been fighting for 15 years, publishing reports, giving speeches, testifying before Congress. And nothing changes. He needs proof, undeniable proof, proof so clear, so scientific, so dramatic that nobody can ignore it. In 1902, he has an idea, a radical idea, a dangerous idea. He will feed poison to human volunteers, document every effect, every symptom, every consequence. He will create the Poison Squad. Wiley needs approval first from his bosses at the Department of Agriculture. He proposes his experiment: feed volunteers food containing preservatives and adulterants, monitor their health carefully, document everything scientifically. His bosses are skeptical, nervous. This could be controversial, dangerous. What if someone dies? But Wiley is persuasive. He explains the precautions, the medical supervision, the careful controls. And finally, reluctantly, they agree. Now he needs volunteers, healthy young men willing to eat poison for science. In October 1902, he places an advertisement in the Washington Post. Wanted, young men for scientific experiment. Free meals provided. Must be in excellent health. Duration, several years. The response is overwhelming. Hundreds of men apply. Young men, mostly in their 20s. Clerks, students, government workers. Some are idealistic. They want to serve science, to help their country. Some are practical. Free meals are free meals. Money saved is money saved. Some are adventurous. This is exciting, unusual, something to tell their grandchildren. Wiley interviews them personally. He explains the experiment honestly, clearly. You will eat food containing chemicals that may be harmful. You may become ill. You may experience discomfort, pain, digestive problems. The experiment will last months, possibly years. You can quit at any time, but I hope you won't. Many men withdraw their applications immediately. But many stay. They want to help. They trust Dr. Wiley. They believe in the cause. From hundreds of applicants, Wiley selects 12. Let me tell you about some of them. William R.E. Leach, age 29, a clerk at the Treasury Department, engaged to be married. Serious, reliable, methodical. Harry L. Hellman, age 23, a stenographer, athletic, outgoing, the joker of the group. S. Wesley Stratton, age 26, works at the Bureau of Standards, quiet, thoughtful, keeps a detailed diary. James J. Morrison, age 24, a government messenger, strong, healthy, never been seriously ill in his life. Perry A. Fowler, age 28, an accountant, meticulous, detail-oriented, exactly the type Wiley wants. And 7 others, all young, all healthy, all willing. These 12 men will become the Poison Squad. They undergo thorough medical examinations: height, weight, blood pressure, heart rate, lung capacity, blood tests, urine tests. Everything is measured, documented, recorded. They are, at this moment, 12 of the healthiest young men in America. That's about to change.
The experiments take place in the basement of the Department of Agriculture building, a massive stone structure on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Wiley sets up a special dining room. He calls it the Hygienic table. It's simple, clean, scientific. Long wooden tables, 12 chairs, white walls, good lighting, everything spotless. There's a kitchen attached, where the food is prepared under careful supervision. Every ingredient measured precisely, every dish documented. The meals are good, surprisingly good, better than most of these young men eat at home. Soup, roast beef, potatoes, vegetables, bread, butter, dessert, coffee. Generous portions, well cooked, nutritious. But there's a catch. Of course there's a catch. The food contains chemicals, preservatives, adulterants, the very chemicals Wiley is trying to prove are dangerous. But not right away, not at first. For the first 2 weeks, the men eat normal food, clean food, no additives, no chemicals. This is the control period, the baseline. Wiley's team monitors everything. The men are weighed daily. They provide urine samples daily, blood samples weekly. They report how they feel, any discomfort, any symptoms. Everything is recorded in detailed ledgers: temperature, pulse, appetite, sleep, digestion, mood.
The men adapt to the routine. Wake up, report to the hygienic table, breakfast, go to work, lunch at the hygienic table, back to work, dinner at the hygienic table, home to sleep. 6 days a week. Sunday, they eat at home, whatever they want. The camaraderie develops quickly. These 12 men, sharing this strange experience, they bond. They become friends. They joke. They support each other. Harry Hellman starts calling them the Poison Squad. The name sticks. After 2 weeks of normal food, the experiment begins. The first test, borax. Borax, sodium borate, a white powder, used in cleaning products, in laundry detergent, in pest control, and in meat. Lots of meat. Beef, pork, ham, sausage. The meat industry uses borax to preserve meat, to keep it from rotting, to hide the smell of spoilage. They insist it's safe, harmless, just a preservative. Wiley suspects otherwise. On December 16, 1902, the borax experiment begins. The Poison Squad's food now contains borax in carefully measured doses. They start with small amounts, very small, 0.5 gram per day, mixed into the meat. The men don't taste it, don't notice anything different. The meals taste the same, look the same. But Wiley and his team watch carefully, weigh the men daily, test their urine, test their blood, record everything. Days pass. A week, 2 weeks. The men feel fine, normal, no problems. Wiley increases the dose. 1 gram per day, then 2 grams, then 3 grams. Now the symptoms intensify. Several men report stomach pain, cramping, discomfort after eating. Their appetites decrease. They have to force themselves to finish their meals. Some experience diarrhea, others constipation. Their digestive systems are disrupted. Sleep becomes difficult. Some men lie awake at night, stomachs churning, bodies uncomfortable. Weight loss begins. Small amounts at first, 1 pound here, 2 pounds there, but consistent, measurable. Blood tests show changes, subtle changes, in their blood chemistry, in their kidney function. Wiley continues. 6 grams per day, 7 grams, 8 grams. The dose that the meat industry claims is perfectly safe for daily consumption. The men are suffering now, visibly, measurably. Wesley Stratton writes in his diary, "Woke up at 3 a.m. with severe cramping, couldn't return to sleep, felt weak and nauseous all day, forced myself to eat dinner, immediately regretted it." Perry Fowler loses 12 pounds in 6 weeks. His clothes hang loose on his frame. Harry Hellman develops chronic headaches, daily, throbbing, relentless. One man quits. Can't take it anymore. Wiley doesn't blame him. He thanks him for his service, documents his symptoms, continues with 11 men. The borax experiment continues for months, from December 1902 through April 1903. By the end, every man has lost significant weight. Every man has digestive problems. Every man has documented health issues. Wiley has his proof. Borax, even in the doses commonly used in food, is harmful, measurably harmful to healthy young men. But the experiment isn't over. The Poison Squad is just beginning.
After a recovery period of 2 weeks, eating normal food, regaining their strength, the next experiment begins. Salicylic acid, a preservative used in ketchup, in pickles, in canned vegetables, in canned fruit, in beer. It prevents mold, prevents bacterial growth.
Extends shelf life. The food industry loves it, uses it extensively, insists it's harmless. Wiley suspects otherwise, again. In May 1903, the salicylic acid experiment begins. Same protocol, small doses at first, gradually increasing, careful monitoring, detailed documentation. The men know what's coming. They've been through this before. They steel themselves. The first weeks are tolerable, 1 gram per day, 2 grams, mild discomfort, manageable. But as the dose increases, the symptoms return. Different symptoms, new symptoms. Ringing in the ears, several men report it. A constant buzzing, tinnitus. Dizziness, balance problems. Some men feel unsteady on their feet. Heart palpitations, rapid heartbeat, irregular heartbeat, concerning to the doctors monitoring them. Fever, low-grade fever, nothing severe, but consistent. Their body's fighting something. Rashes, skin irritation, itching, discomfort. And the same digestive problems as before. Nausea, stomach pain, loss of appetite, weight loss. The men push through. They're committed now. They've come this far. They won't quit. William Leach, always reliable, misses a day of work for the first time in years, too dizzy to walk to the Treasury Department safely. James Morrison's heart rate becomes irregular. The doctors are concerned. They consider removing him from the experiment. He refuses, insists on continuing. Wesley Stratton writes, "Feel like I'm constantly fighting the flu, fever, weakness. Everything hurts. But tomorrow I'll be back at the hygienic table. For science. For the future." The salicylic acid experiment runs from May through August 1903. 4 months, 120 days, of documented suffering, of measurable harm. Another man quits. 2 men have now dropped out. 10 remain. Wiley has his data. Salicylic acid, in food industry doses, is harmful, clearly harmful, scientifically proven. But there's more to test, more chemicals, more preservatives, more adulterants. The poison squad continues. After recovery, after regaining weight, after the symptoms subside, the next chemical. Sulfurous acid, sulfites, used to preserve dried fruits, dried apricots, dried apples, raisins. Also used in wine, in vinegar, and pickled vegetables. It prevents browning, keeps fruit looking fresh and appealing. September 1903, the experiment begins. The men are tired now, worn down. They've been doing this for almost a year, but they continue because they believe in the cause, because they trust Dr. Wiley, because they want their suffering to mean something. Sulfites affect them differently than the previous chemicals. Respiratory problems, difficulty breathing, tightness in the chest, wheezing. Severe headaches, worse than before, debilitating headaches, migraine-like. Extreme nausea, more than before, vomiting. Several men can't keep food down. Weakness, profound weakness. They struggle to work, to function, to do normal activities. One man, Harry Hellman, the joker, the comedian, becomes seriously ill. His breathing becomes labored. His skin takes on a grayish tint. His weight drops dangerously low. The doctors insist he stop. He's removed from the experiment, permanently. He'll recover eventually, but slowly, over many months. Another man quits voluntarily, can't take it anymore. The suffering is too much. 8 men remain, 8 of the original 12. They're thinner now, weaker, but determined. The sulfite experiment runs from September through December 1903. As the year ends, the poison squad has completed 3 major experiments, proven 3 commonly used food chemicals are harmful. But the work continues, into 1904, into 1905, into 1906. For 5 years, the poison squad continues their work. They test benzoic acid, used in pickles and preserved foods. They test formaldehyde, used in milk and dairy products. They test copper sulfate, used to color canned vegetables. They test dozens of chemicals, preservatives, adulterants, coloring agents, flavor enhancers. Some experiments last weeks, some last months, each one carefully controlled, carefully documented. The men suffer, repeatedly, predictably, measurably. They lose weight. They gain it back during recovery periods. They lose it again. They experience nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, stomach pain, headaches, dizziness, weakness, fever, skin problems, respiratory problems. Their bodies are breaking down, slowly, gradually, but undeniably. By 1905, only 6 of the original 12 remain. The others had to quit. Their health couldn't take any more. These 6 men are heroes, unsung heroes, suffering in the basement of a government building for science, for truth, for the future of American food. Wesley Stratton continues his diary. His entries become shorter, more terse, more pained. Day 847, formaldehyde test, 3rd week. Can't eat, can't sleep, can't think. Continue anyway. Day 912, benzoic acid. Lost 8 pounds this month. Wiley says we're close, almost done, must continue. Perry Fowler's weight fluctuates wildly, from 160 pounds at the start to 132 during the experiments, to 160 during the recovery period, to 138 during the next experiment. His body is exhausted, but his spirit remains strong.
And throughout it all, Dr. Wiley documents everything. Publishes reports, gives speeches, testifies before Congress. Armed now with undeniable proof, scientific proof, human proof. Young men, healthy men, harmed by the very chemicals the food industry claims are safe. The Poison Squad becomes famous, nationally famous. Newspapers cover the experiments, with fascination, with admiration, with outrage at what the men are enduring. The Washington Post runs regular updates. The Poison Squad continues their noble work. The New York Times publishes editorials. These brave men risk their health for public safety. Even humor magazines get involved. Life magazine publishes a poem. Oh, they may get over it, but they'll never be the same. That kind of bill of fare would drive most men insane. Next week he'll give them mothballs, a la Newburgh or else plain. Oh, they may get over it, but they'll never be the same. A popular song is written, the Poison Squad song, sung in vaudeville theaters. If ever you should visit the Smithsonian Institute, look out that Professor Wiley doesn't make you a recruit. He's got a lot of fellows there that tell him how they feel. They take a batch of poison every time they eat a meal. For breakfast, they get cyanide of liver, coffin-shaped. For dinner, undertaker's pie, all trimmed with crepe. For supper, arsenic fritters, fried in appetizing shade. And late at night, they get a prussic acid lemonade. The public loves the Poison Squad. These ordinary men, sacrificing for the common good. They receive letters, hundreds of letters, from grateful citizens, from mothers worried about their children's food, from workers in the food industry who know the truth. One letter from a mother in Ohio. Thank you for your bravery. My children will eat safer food because of your sacrifice. God bless you. Another from a butcher in Chicago. I've seen what goes into sausage. I've seen the chemicals. You're doing the right thing. Don't stop. But the food industry is furious, terrified. Their profits are threatened. They launch a campaign against Wiley, against the Poison Squad, against the entire idea of food regulation. Their message, government overreach, hysterical scaremongering, destroying American business. They hire scientists to dispute Wiley's findings, to claim his experiments are flawed, his conclusions wrong. They buy newspaper editorials, attacking Wiley's character, his methods, his motives. They lobby Congress aggressively, spending millions, fighting any proposed food safety legislation. And for years, they succeed. Bills are introduced, bills fail. Nothing changes. But public pressure is building. The Poison Squad has captured America's imagination. People want action. Mothers want safe food for their children. Workers want honest labels. Consumers want to know what they're eating. And then something happens that changes everything. In February 1906, a novel is published, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. It's fiction, a story about Lithuanian immigrants working in Chicago meatpacking plants, but it's based on truth, on real conditions, real practices, real horrors. Sinclair describes the meatpacking plants in graphic detail: the filth, the contamination, the diseased animals, the poisoned meat. Workers falling into rendering vats, their bodies processed into lard, sold to consumers. Rats running over the meat, their feces mixed in, ground up with the meat, poisoned rat bait mixed in too. Spoiled meat, rotten meat, covered with chemicals, colored with dyes, sold as fresh. The book is meant to spark sympathy for the workers, for their suffering, their exploitation. But the public reaction focuses on something else: the meat. What am I eating? What have I been eating? The book becomes an instant bestseller. Everyone is reading it, everyone is horrified. President Theodore Roosevelt reads it. He's disgusted, outraged. He invites Upton Sinclair to the White House. He sends federal investigators to Chicago to verify the claims. The investigators report back. It's all true, worse than Sinclair described. Roosevelt is a man of action. He demands legislation immediately. The food industry, reeling from the public outcry, suddenly loses its power to block reform. In June 1906, Congress passes two landmark laws: the Pure Food and Drug Act, banning adulterated or misbranded food and drugs; the Meat Inspection Act, requiring federal inspection of meat products. President Roosevelt signs both into law on June 30, 1906. American food is about to change forever. And the Poison Squad, suffering for 5 years in the basement of the Agriculture Department, has played a crucial role. Their data, their suffering, their scientific proof, it's all cited in congressional debates, in presidential speeches, in newspaper editorials. They didn't work alone. The reform movement was larger: journalists, activists, politicians. But the Poison Squad provided something irreplaceable: scientific proof, human proof, undeniable proof. The Poison Squad experiments officially end in 1907. The remaining 6 men have their final medical examinations, comprehensive examinations documenting every change, every effect, every consequence. They've lost weight permanently. Their digestive systems are damaged. Some problems will last for years, some for life. But they're alive. They've survived. And they've changed history. Dr. Wiley throws them a dinner, a celebration, at the hygienic table, one last meal together. But this time, the food is clean, pure, safe, free of any chemicals, any adulterants, any poison. They eat, they laugh, they share stories, they remember the hard times, the suffering, the doubt. And they celebrate what they've accomplished. Dr. Wiley gives a speech, short, emotional, heartfelt. Gentlemen, you have served your country as surely as any soldier. You have sacrificed your health, your comfort, your peace of mind, and because of you, millions of Americans will eat safer food. Generations of Americans will benefit from what you endured. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. The men return to their lives, their jobs, their families. William Leach marries his fiancée, finally, after years of postponement because of the experiments. Wesley Stratton publishes his diary. It becomes a minor bestseller, a first-hand account of the Poison Squad experience. Perry Fowler becomes an advocate for food safety, gives speeches, writes articles, continues the fight in his own way. Harry Hellman, who was removed from the experiments due to illness, eventually recovers. He lives a long life, always proud of his service in the poison squad. As for Dr. Harvey Wiley, he becomes the first commissioner of the newly created Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. He spends the rest of his career fighting for food safety, for honest labels, for protecting consumers. He faces opposition constantly, from the food industry, from politicians they've bought, from bureaucrats who prioritize business over safety. He's forced out of the FDA in 1912. Political pressure, industry lobbying. They finally get rid of him. But his legacy remains. The Pure Food and Drug Act, the FDA, the principle that food should be safe, that labels should be honest, that consumers have rights. Harvey Wiley dies in 1930, at age 86. His obituary calls him the father of pure food laws. And the Poison Squad? They're mostly forgotten, lost to history. No monuments, no plaques, no national recognition. Just a footnote. In a few books, in a few articles, in the records of the Department of Agriculture. But they changed America fundamentally, permanently.
Today, when you buy food in America, you see labels, ingredient lists, nutrition facts. That exists because of the Poison Squad. When you trust that your milk doesn't contain formaldehyde, that your meat isn't preserved with borax, that your canned vegetables aren't colored with toxic dyes, that safety exists because of the Poison Squad. When children eat food without being poisoned, when medicines are required to be safe and effective, when companies can't lie about what's in their products. That protection exists because of the Poison Squad. The FDA, the food safety system, the regulations, the inspections, the enforcement, all of it traces back to those 12 young men eating poison in a basement for 5 years, for science, for truth, for the future. They weren't soldiers, they weren't politicians, they weren't rich or famous or powerful. They were clerks, stenographers, government workers, ordinary men. But they did something extraordinary. They suffered, voluntarily, knowingly, for people they would never meet, for generations not yet born. Modern food isn't perfect. There are still problems, still fights to be fought, still reforms needed. But it's safer than it was in 1900. Infinitely safer. Because 12 men sat down to eat poison and documented what it did to them. Remember their names: William R. E. Leach, Harry L. Hellman, S. Wesley Stratton, James J. Morrison, Perry A. Fowler, and the other 7 whose names are harder to find, but whose sacrifice was just as real, just as important. They're the reason you can trust your food, more or less, most of the time. They're the reason the FDA exists. Imperfect as it is, underfunded as it is, it exists. They're the reason that when you sit down to eat, you're not playing Russian roulette with poison. The Poison Squad. 12 ordinary men who did something extraordinary and changed what America eats forever. This story is based on historical records, government documents, Wiley's published reports, contemporary newspaper accounts, the diary of S. Wesley Stratton. The experiments happened, the chemicals were real, the suffering was documented. The doses, the symptoms, the effects. All verified, all scientifically recorded. the Pure Food and Drug Act, the Meat Inspection Act, the creation of the FDA, all historical fact. This isn't mythology, it's history. Forgotten history, but history nonetheless. The Poison Squad existed. They suffered. They changed the world. And now, perhaps, they'll be remembered.